Have you noticed how the anxious mind becomes the loudest exactly when the world grows quiet, as if silence outside gives the inner noise permission to finally speak, as if the night removes all distractions and the hidden river inside you starts rushing, carrying old worries, unfinished conversations, imagined disasters, and questions that have no end, and you lie there thinking you should be able to stop it. You should be able to control it. You should be able to fall asleep like other people do. And yet the more you try to force calm, the more your thoughts resist, the way water resists a clenched fist. Tonight, don't treat your mind like an enemy you must defeat. Tonight, treat it like a tired traveler who has been walking too long without rest. A traveler who keeps talking because no one has ever truly listened. Let this be your first gentle decision. You will not fight your thoughts in the dark. You will not punish yourself for being human. You will simply sit with what arises like a lantern held steadily in a quiet forest, and you will learn, slowly, how to calm an anxious mind the way the Buddhist path calms it. By seeing clearly, by softening the body, by letting go of unnecessary struggle until the inner noise loses its fuel. Imagine a moonlit forest, deep and still, the trees tall and patient, their branches holding the night like a cloak, the air cool and clean, the ground soft with moss and fallen leaves, and somewhere between those trees a small river moves, not violent, not hurried, simply flowing, making the same gentle sound again and again. And you come to it with your mind full, with your chest tight, with your breath shallow, and you sit at the riverbank as if you have come to meet something older than your fear. In the middle of the clearing, in the dim moon glow, a Buddha statue sits in meditation, quiet, unmoving, eyes closed, hands resting in calm. And the sight of that stillness does not demand that you become perfect. It only reminds you that stillness exists and that it is not something you must chase. It is something you can allow. Begin by letting your body become a little heavier, because heaviness is the language of safety, and the nervous system understands safety better than it understands philosophy. Let your shoulders drop by a small amount, as if you're setting down a bag you have carried all day. Let your jaw loosen, not completely, just enough to tell your face it does not need to brace for a blow. Let your belly soften by one finger's width, because the belly holds so many hidden alarms. And now, let the exhale become slightly longer than the inhale, not forced, not dramatic, just a slow, gentle leaving, like warm air leaving a room through an open door. Thoughts will come. They always come. And the Buddha never asked you to stop being a mind. He asked you to stop being dragged by it. There's an old Zen story about a teacher and a visitor who came full of questions, full of cleverness, full of theories, full of noise. The visitor wanted wisdom the way a thirsty person wants water, but he also wanted to keep his pride, his certainty, his need to be right. The teacher welcomed him into a small room and poured tea into a cup, and the tea kept rising, and the cup overflowed, spilling onto the table, onto the floor, and the visitor finally shouted, "Stop! The cup is full. Can't you see it's full?" And the teacher looked at him and said, calmly, "Just like this cup, you are full of your own ideas. How can I show you anything if you do not first empty your cup? Tonight your mind is like that overflowing cup, except the tea is not wisdom. It is worry, it is tension, it is scanning, it is endless analysis, and the more you pour, the more it spills into your sleep." So we begin the night by emptying the cup, not by erasing the mind, but by stopping the extra pouring, stopping the endless adding, stopping the habit of answering every anxious thought with 5 more anxious thoughts. When a thought arises, notice it with a soft attention, the way you would notice a leaf drifting on the river. Don't grab it to inspect it. Don't throw it away in anger. Simply recognize it as a thought. You might quietly name it. Once, just once, planning, remembering, judging, fearing, and then return to the breath, as if the breath is your home and the thought is only a visitor passing through the doorway. If the same thought comes again, you do the same thing again, not as a failure, but as practice, because practice is simply returning without cruelty. The anxious mind will try to convince you that every thought is urgent, that every worry must be solved immediately, that if you stop thinking you will miss something important, that your worry is a form of responsibility. But be honest. How many nights has worry truly solved your life? And how many nights has it only exhausted you, draining tomorrow's strength before tomorrow even arrives? In Buddhist teaching, there is a simple, sharp understanding. Suffering is not only pain, suffering is also clinging. The mind clings to certainty, clings to control, clings to an image of how things should be, clings to the fantasy that if it thinks hard enough, it can prevent loss, prevent embarrassment, prevent change, prevent the unknown. And yet life remains life, moving, changing, surprising, like a river that does not stop flowing because you demand stillness. The deeper calm is not created by winning against the river. The deeper calm is created by releasing your grip on it. So tonight, if the mind says, "What if something goes wrong?" you do not answer with a whole movie of disaster. You simply say inwardly, "Future," and you return to one long exhale. If the mind says, "Remember what happened," you do not dive into the past and drown there. You simply say, "Memory," and you return to the feeling of your body resting. If the mind says, "You are not doing this right," you do not punish yourself with shame. You simply say, "Judging," and you return again with kindness. Let's make this even simpler because the night loves simplicity. When you feel the mind speeding up, bring attention to 3 anchors. First, the breath, especially the exhale, slow and soft. Second, the weight of your body, the way gravity holds you without effort. Third, the sound around you, maybe the imagined river, maybe the quiet in your room. Sound received without interpretation. Breath, wait, sound. Breath, wait, sound. These anchors do not argue with the mind. They guide it. And now, another Zen story, gentle and useful for anxious nights. A traveler was crossing a path at night when he saw, in the dimness, a long shape on the ground, twisted and dark. Immediately his mind screamed, "Snake!" His heart raced, his breath vanished, his whole body prepared for danger. He stood frozen, imagining the bite, imagining the poison, imagining his own suffering. He could not move forward, could not move back. Then a monk walking with a small lantern approached and asked, "What is it?" The traveler whispered, "A snake." The monk lifted the lantern and held the light close, and the snake became simple and harmless. It was only a rope. The traveler's fear fell away, not because the rope changed, but because his seeing changed. Your anxious mind does this every night. It takes uncertainty and turns it into a snake. It takes a sensation and turns it into a warning. It takes a thought and turns it into fate. It takes a single possibility and turns it into a prophecy. The lantern is awareness. The lantern is breath. The lantern is the gentle act of naming what is happening without believing it is the final truth. So when you feel fear, do not demand that fear disappear. Do something wiser and softer. Recognize fear as fear. Feel where it lives in the body, maybe in the chest, maybe in the throat, maybe in the belly, and soften one place, just one place, as a signal to the nervous system that you're safe enough in this moment to relax. Then let the exhale lengthen. Let the next breath be simple. And if the mind asks for certainty, give it a different gift: presence. Presence is not certainty, but it is real, and real is calming. Now, listen closely because this is where many people make the night harder than it needs to be. The mind says, "I must fall asleep." And that demand, though it sounds reasonable, becomes another form of clinging. Another fist, another tension. Sleep does not come to a clenched body. Sleep comes to a body that feels permission. So let go of the demand to sleep. Let the goal be rest. Let the goal be softness. Let the goal be kindness. Often, when you stop chasing sleep, sleep arrives on its own, quiet as a deer stepping into a clearing. If you like, you can quietly repeat a simple phrase on the exhale, something that does not excite the mind, something that feels like a lullaby. With each slow exhale, "May I rest." With each slow exhale, "May I rest." Or even simpler, "Rest now. Rest now." Let the words be like pebbles dropped gently into water, not splashes, not declarations, only small reminders of the direction back to peace. And remember what the Buddha taught about the middle way. The middle way is not cold discipline, and it is not indulgent chaos. It is the wise balance between extremes. So when your mind tries to control everything, you soften and release. When your mind tries to drown in helplessness, you return to one small anchor. When the inner voice becomes harsh, you respond with compassion, because compassion is not weakness. Compassion is wisdom that understands conditions. You are tired. You are sensitive. You are human. That is not failure. That is reality. And reality, when accepted, becomes lighter. Tonight, your practice is not to become a perfect meditator. Your practice is simply this. Each time you notice you've been pulled into thought, you return gently, quietly, without insult. Each return is a small awakening. Each return is the cup being emptied. Each return is the lantern being lifted. Each return is the river flowing without dragging you under. So stay here with me, in this moonlit forest beside the soft river, with the Buddhist stillness in the center of the clearing like a calm star. And let your breath be slow, let your body be heavy, let your mind be allowed to be a mind. And when thoughts rise, let them pass like leaves, because you are not the leaf and you are not the river's foam. You are the quiet bank that can hold it all. And if tonight you wake again inside a worry, do not treat it as a setback. Treat it as a bell. The bell says, come back to breath, come back to weight, come back to sound, come back to kindness. Come back to the simple truth of this moment, where nothing is asking you to solve your whole life, where the night is only asking you to soften, and the river is only asking you to flow with it, slowly, until the anxious mind, no longer fed by struggle, begins to quiet, and the space behind thoughts grows wider, and the path toward sleep opens like a dark, gentle door. When you return to the river on the second night, you may notice something subtle that the anxious mind loves to hide from you. Something it would rather you never see clearly, because if you saw it, you would stop obeying it so quickly. Anxiety does not only live in thoughts, it lives in the body, and the body, when it is tense, sends the mind a message that sounds like truth, a message that says something is wrong, something is coming, be ready, be ready, be ready, and the mind, hearing that message, begins to search for reasons, and the search itself becomes a storm. So tonight we do not begin by chasing thoughts. We begin by listening to the body like a wise friend listens, without panic, without judgment, because the body is often the first place where the anxious river starts rushing. And if you calm the body, you calm the riverbed, and the water begins to clear almost by itself. Picture the same moonlit forest, the same soft fog drifting between the trees, the same river moving in its quiet chant, the same Buddha statue seated in meditation at the center of the clearing, unmoving, calm, as if reminding you that peace is possible even when the mind insists it is not. You sit by the river and you feel your breath cool in, warm out, and you notice how the inhale sometimes feels like it must pull hard, like the body is trying to gather air quickly. And you notice how the exhale sometimes leaves too fast, as if your system is rushing, and you realize gently that the anxious mind has been living in a rhythm of urgency, and urgency is exhausting. So we teach the body a different rhythm, a rhythm that signals safety. Let the exhale become longer than the inhale again, but now with a clearer intention, as if you were smoothing wrinkles out of cloth, slow and steady. You do not force the breath. You invite it. You let the exhale be a soft surrender, and you let the inhale come naturally, like a wave returning to shore. Long exhale, easy inhale. Long exhale, easy inhale. In the language of the nervous system, the exhale is the message that says, we can stand down now. We can soften now. We can rest now. And as you do this, notice the places where the body holds its secret armor, because anxiety is often armor that forgot how to be removed. The jaw, the tongue pressed against the teeth, the shoulders lifted as if bracing for impact, the hands clenched, the belly tight as if guarding something fragile, the eyes strained behind closed lids. You do not demand that the armor vanish. You simply soften one piece of it, and then another, like loosening straps on a heavy pack. If you want a simple pattern, use 3 gates. Gate 1, jaw. Let unhook slightly. Gate 2, shoulders. Let them drop a fraction. Gate 3, belly. Let it soften by the smallest amount. These 3 gates are powerful because they speak to the deepest survival patterns in the body. And the Buddha's wisdom has always included this kind of practical compassion. You cannot think your way into calm if your body is still shouting danger. Now, there's a Zen teaching that many people misunderstand. They imagine Zen is about emptying the mind by force, about cutting off thought like slicing a rope, but Zen is not violence. Zen is seeing. Zen is allowing the water to settle. Zen is recognizing what you're doing that keeps the river stirred. So on this second night, we look at one of the most common stirring motions, resistance. The anxious mind resists anxiety. It says, I should not feel this. I must get rid of it. Something is wrong because it is here. And that resistance, though it feels like strength, creates tension, and tension feeds the cycle. The Buddha taught that suffering has a cause, and one cause is aversion, pushing away what is already present. When you push, you create friction. When you create friction, you create heat. When you create heat, you create more agitation. So the path is not to push the feeling away. The path is to meet it wisely. This is where a Zen story enters quiet and clear. A student came to a teacher and said, Master, my mind is restless. I cannot stop it. How do I make it quiet? The teacher answered, Show me your restless mind. The student closed his eyes, searching, trying to catch the mind like catching smoke. And after a while he said, I cannot find it. The teacher smiled and said, Then I have already quieted it for you. The teaching is not that the mind never moves. The teaching is that when you look directly, the mind is not a solid monster. It is movement. It is passing. It is not something you must fear like a permanent enemy. The moment you observe, you are already a little freer because you have stepped back from identification. Tonight, if anxiety rises, do not say, I am anxious, as if anxiety is your identity. Say, anxiety is here, as if anxiety is weather passing through the valley. That one shift is enormous. It changes everything. Weather can be witnessed. Weather can be allowed. Weather can pass. Now bring that witnessing into the body. Where is anxiety? Do not answer with story. Answer with sensation. Is it tightness? Heat? Pressure? Fluttering? Let your attention rest on the pure sensation for a few slow breaths. And you may notice something surprising. Sensation changes when it is met without fear. It moves. It spreads. It fades. It transforms. It does not remain the same sharp shape forever unless the mind keeps feeding it with story. And here is another hidden habit of the anxious mind. It feeds sensation with interpretation. It says this tightness means danger. This fluttering means I'm not okay. This pressure means something will happen. But the Buddha teaches you a different way. Do not build a temple for interpretation. Stay close to what is real. Sensation is real. Breath is real. The weight of your body is real. The story about the sensation is often only a dream that feels convincing. So when the mind tries to interpret, name it gently, interpreting, and return to the exhale. Long exhale, easy inhale. Let the nervous system hear the same message again and again until it believes it. There is another Zen story about a monk who came to his teacher in the middle of a storm and said, Master, I cannot find peace. My thoughts are wild. The teacher took him outside and pointed at the trees bending in the wind and said, Do you see how the trees move? The monk said yes. The teacher asked, Do they argue with the wind? The monk said no. The teacher replied, Then be like the tree. Let the wind move through you. Do not argue with it. Your anxious energy is wind. Your practice is not to stop wind. Your practice is to stop arguing with it, to become rooted, to let it pass through without breaking you. Rooting begins with the body, so bring attention to heaviness again. The thighs, the hips, the lower back, the place where your body meets the surface beneath you. Feel how gravity holds you. You do not need to hold yourself so tightly. You can be held. And if the mind returns to fear, to images, to what-ifs, remember the lantern teaching from the rope and the snake. Darkness makes shapes look dangerous, but awareness brings softness. Ask yourself, very quietly, One question that brings you back from fantasy to reality. What is actually happening right now? Right now, you are breathing. Right now, you are lying down. Right now, the room is quiet. Right now, the night is simply night. This question does not deny future challenges. It simply refuses to suffer them twice. Now, because this is a story designed for sleep, we will move slowly like the river itself, and we will add a simple practice that can carry you across anxious waves when they rise. On each exhale, whisper inwardly, soft. Just one word, soft. And as you whisper it, soften one place, jaw, shoulders, belly, hands, forehead. Soft. Then again, soft. The word is not magic, but it points you toward a physical letting go. And physical letting go is often the door to mental quiet. As you do this, you may begin to sense a gentle space behind the breath, a quiet background that has been there all along, a place that is not trying to solve anything. This place is awareness. This place is the bank. Thoughts flow, yes. Sensations rise, yes. But the bank remains. The bank does not chase the water. The bank does not drown. It simply holds. Tonight, do not try to become someone else. Do not try to be a person who never worries. Just be the person who notices worry and returns. Return with kindness. Return with patience. Return the way a monk returns to a simple bell sound again and again, not because the bell forces silence, but because the bell reminds the mind where home is. And if you find yourself thinking, this is taking too long, name it impatience. If you find yourself thinking, I'm doing it wrong, name it judging. If you find yourself thinking, I must sleep now, name it grasping. And after naming, do the only thing you need to do tonight. Exhale slowly, soften the body, and allow the next moment to be what it is. Because the Buddha's wisdom is not a demand for perfection. It is a gentle truth. When you stop adding struggle to your experience, the experience becomes lighter. When you stop fighting the river becomes a lullaby. When you stop punishing yourself for being human, your nervous system begins to trust the night again. So stay in this moonlit forest with me. Fog drifting softly between the trees, water murmuring, Buddha seated in calm at the center of the clearing, and let your breath become the simplest thing in the world, like water moving downhill, like leaves resting on moss, like a warm exhale leaving your body and carrying away the day's tension, slowly, slowly, until the anxious mind, no longer fed by resistance, begins to quiet, and the body, hearing safety in your breathing, begins to sink toward rest, and rest begins to feel possible, not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. The third night begins with a question that is so simple it can feel almost insulting, and yet is one of the most powerful questions the Buddha's path ever places in your hands, because it turns the mind away from endless struggle and back toward clear seeing. When anxiety rises, what exactly are you doing with it? Not what you think you are doing, not what you wish you were doing, but what you're truly doing in the hidden chambers of your attention. Are you feeding it with stories? Are you wrestling it with resistance? Are you trying to force it away? Are you obeying it as if it is a prophet? Are you turning it into an identity? Are you building a home inside the feeling and calling that home reality? Tonight we do not fight anxiety. Tonight we study it, the way a lantern studies fog, the way a calm eye studies the surface of water. Because the anxious mind often feels like a curse only because it has never been understood, and the moment it is understood, it begins to lose its enchantment. Return to the moonlit forest. Return to the river. The water moves in its quiet chant, patient, steady, and the Buddha statue sits in the clearing with closed eyes as if it has been waiting for you, not to judge you, not to command you, but to remind you of a stillness that does not need to be forced. You sit down, and before you do anything with thought, you do what matters first. You let the body know it can soften. You loosen the jaw, you drop the shoulders, you soften the belly, you let the exhale lengthen, and you feel the weight of your body being carried by the earth. You are not holding the world up tonight. You're being held. And now, in this steadier space, we look at one of the most common engines of anxiety, the mind's addiction to certainty. The anxious mind does not merely want peace. It wants guarantees. It wants the future to behave. It wants outcomes to be confirmed. It wants to know with absolute clarity that nothing will go wrong, that nothing will change, that no pain will arrive, that no loss will come, that no mistake will be made. And because life cannot give these guarantees, the mind begins to spin. It tries to create certainty through thinking, as if thinking is a rope it can tie around the future to keep it from moving. But the Buddhist teaching is honest. It says, the nature of life is change. The nature of life is uncertainty. The nature of life is impermanence. And because this is true, the path does not attempt to turn life into a fixed thing. The path teaches you how to live with open hands. This is not a small lesson. It is the lesson beneath many restless nights. So tonight, imagine the mind as a hand. When a mind is anxious, the hand clenches. It clenches around the future. It clenches around what people think. It clenches around being safe. It clenches around not making mistakes. It clenches around needing to control. And you can feel that clench in the body too. The jaw, the chest, the belly. The teaching is not to insult the clench. The teaching is to notice it and slowly open the hand. If you listen closely, you will notice the mind uses certain phrases to tighten the fist. It says, I need to know. It says, I must be sure. It says, what if? It says, I can't handle it. These phrases are like spells. They feel true, but they are often only habits. So tonight, each time you notice one of these spells, you do something very small and very wise. You name it gently and you breathe it out, needing certainty. Long exhale. What if? Long exhale. I can't handle it. Long exhale. You are not denying the difficulties of life. You are simply refusing to let a tired mind write your whole future at midnight. Now, a Zen story, quiet and clear, meant to loosen the grip. A young student came to a Zen master and asked, Master, how can I find peace? My mind is always asking, what will happen next? The master led him to a river and pointed at the water. Do you see the river? He asked. The student said yes. The master asked, Can you hold this river in your hands? The student laughed. No, he said, it would slip through. The master nodded. Then why do you keep trying to hold tomorrow? Why do you keep trying to hold life? The student did not understand. So the master took a small cup and dipped it into the river, lifting the cup filled with water. This, the master said, is what you can hold, not the whole river. Only this cup, only this moment, only this breath. And the student finally saw the truth. Peace comes from meeting what is here, not from trying to imprison what is coming. This is the practice for the third night. Stop trying to hold the whole river. Hold only the cup. Hold only the breath, cool in, warm out. Hold only the weight of your body resting. Hold only the softness you can create in one place. Hold only the next exhale. And when the mind says, but I need to know, you answer gently, not tonight. Not as rejection, but as care. Not tonight. Tonight is for rest. Tonight is for the cup, not the river. Now let's go deeper, because the anxious mind often believes it is doing something noble. It believes worry is love. It believes worry is responsibility. It believes if it stops worrying, it will become careless and something bad will happen. But what is the real result of worry at night? It does not prevent tomorrow. It only steals from it. It burns your energy and calls the burning preparation. The Buddha taught right effort, and right effort is not frantic effort. Right effort is wise effort. It is knowing what helps and what harms. Tonight, worrying does not help. Tonight, worrying harms. So right effort is to return to what calms the nervous system and opens the hand. Here is a practice you can use like a small prayer. When a mind begins to chase certainty, whisper inwardly on the exhale, let go. Let go, not of your life, not of your responsibilities. Let go of the clenching. Let go of the midnight courtroom where you put yourself on trial. Let go of the demand to solve everything now. If let go feels too strong, use enough. Enough. Enough thinking for now. Enough scanning. Enough. The nervous system hears enough like a lullaby because it signals an end to the chase. Now the mind may protest. It may say, if I let go, I will be harmed. But notice how many times you clenched and still were harmed, because harm is part of life sometimes. And notice also how many times you clenched for nothing, suffering without cause, suffering in advance. The teaching is not to guarantee safety. The teaching is to reduce unnecessary suffering. So we practice open hands. You can even physically open your hands where you lie, palms relaxed, fingers loose, as if offering the body a symbol of release. Feel how different that is from fists. Your mind will learn from your hands. Your mind is not only in the head, it is in the body's posture. Open hands, open jaw, open belly, long exhale. This is the language of letting go. And now another Zen story, a small one, like a pebble that makes a gentle ripple. A monk asked his teacher, "What should I do when my mind will not stop?" The teacher replied, "Do not stop it. Watch it stop itself." The monk said, "How can it stop itself?" The teacher answered, "If you do not keep pushing it, if you do not keep feeding it, it will grow tired, as a child grows tired when no one argues with him, and then it will rest." This is the heart of the third night. Stop arguing with your mind. Stop pushing. Stop feeding. Watch it tire. Watch it settle. Watch it become quieter because you're no longer giving it the fuel of urgency. And as you watch, remember the Buddha's gentle wisdom. You are not your thoughts. You are not your worries. You are not the future your mind is trying to control. You are the one who knows the breath. You are the one who can soften. You are the one who can return. You are the bank, not the river. So sit with the river. Let flow. Let murmur. Let the forest hold the night. Let the moon glow softly through mist. Let the Buddha's stillness remind you that calm is not a prize at the end of struggle, but a natural result of releasing struggle. And when thoughts rise, as they will, hold only the cup. Hold only the breath. Hold only this moment. Exhale slowly. Whisper inwardly, "Let go," or "enough," and allow the open hand of awareness to carry you gently toward rest. Not by force, but by trust. The fourth night arrives with a quieter kind of challenge, the kind that does not feel dramatic at first, the kind that hides inside ordinary thinking and then, slowly, turns the mind into a crowded room. The habit of replaying, reviewing, correcting, and judging yourself as if your life is an exam that must be passed perfectly, as if every sentence you said, every choice you made, every expression on your face must be inspected again in the dark. And if you find a mistake, you must punish yourself with more thinking. Many anxious nights are not only fear of the future, they're also a courtroom of the past. So tonight we step into that courtroom with a different kind of light, because the Buddha did not teach you to be flawless. He taught you to be free. And freedom begins when you stop turning your own mind into a place of endless trial. Return to the moonlit forest. Return to the river. The water moves in its low chant, steady, patient, and the Buddha's statue sits in the clearing, calm and unmoving, not because it has never made a mistake, but because it does not cling to mistakes as identity. You sit at the riverbank and you feel the weight of your body resting. You soften the jaw. You soften the shoulders. You soften the belly. You lengthen the exhale, letting it leave like a warm wind slipping out through a half-open door. Now notice what the mind wants to do in the quiet. It wants to replay. It wants to replay a conversation and add new lines. It wants to replay a moment and rewrite it. It wants to replay a decision and argue with it. It wants to replay a mistake and turn it into a prophecy. If you did that, then you are that. If you failed there, you will fail again. If you looked foolish once, you will always be foolish. The mind loves these leaps because they are simple, and simplicity feels safe to a nervous system that is tired. But this is not wisdom. This is the mind trying to control time. The Buddha taught that clinging creates suffering, and clinging can cling to the past as tightly as it clings to pleasure. Clinging to the past is like holding a burning coal and calling it learning. You think you're improving, but you're only burning yourself. So tonight, we learn the difference between wise reflection and endless self-punishment. Wise reflection is brief. It is clear. It leads to a simple action. Then it ends. Endless self-punishment is long. It is hazy. It repeats. It leads to shame. Then it grows. The anxious mind often confuses these two, so we give it a gentle boundary. If the mind brings up a past moment, we meet it with 3 questions simple enough for the night. First, is there anything I can do about this right now, in this room, at this hour? Second, if there is an action, can it be small and clear, written for tomorrow? Third, if there is no action, can I release this for now and return a breath? Most of the time, at night, the honest answer is, there is no action to take right now. Night is not the time for fixing your entire life. Night is the time for resting the nervous system. So we release. And releasing begins with naming. When a mind begins to replay, name it softly. Replaying. That's all. Replaying. You're not denying the past. You're simply refusing to live it again. Replaying. And then you return to the exhale, long and gentle, as if the exhale is carrying the scene away like a leaf carried downstream. Now a Zen story, quiet and sharp, meant for the heart that punishes itself. A young monk once carried a heavy jar of water up a hill each morning. One day, his teacher noticed that the monk's hands were bleeding from gripping the jar too tightly, and the teacher asked, "Why do you hold it as if it will run away?" The monk said, "If I do not grip, it might slip." The teacher nodded, and then he asked, "And how long will you carry it?" The monk said, "Until I reach the temple." The teacher replied, "Then hold it firmly enough to carry it, but gently enough to arrive." This is the middle way applied to your mind. Hold your past firmly enough to learn, but gently enough to arrive. If you grip too tightly, you bleed. If you grip too loosely, you drop the jar. The way is gentle firmness, not punishment. So tonight, if the mind brings a memory, you can hold it gently for one breath and ask, "What is the lesson?" If the lesson is simple, receive it. Perhaps the lesson is speak more kindly. Perhaps the lesson is rest more. Perhaps the lesson is pause before reacting. Then set the jar down. Do not carry it all night. If the mind refuses to set it down, if it insists on replaying, then you do something even wiser. You recognize that this is not learning. This is self-attack disguised as improvement. Name it self-judging. Name it shame. And then you return with kindness, because kindness is not weakness. Kindness is the medicine that dissolves shame. Now let's speak directly to that harsh inner voice, because it often becomes the loudest at night. The voice says, "Why did you do that? You ruined everything. You embarrassed yourself. You should have been better." The voice sounds like a strict teacher, but often it is only fear wearing the mask of authority. So tonight, instead of believing it, you practice a new response. When the harsh voice speaks, you answer with a single gentle phrase, as if speaking to a frightened child. "Thank you. I hear you. Rest now. Thank you. I hear you. Rest now." You're not being dramatic. You're training your nervous system to stop treating inner criticism as a command. And if the mind says, "But I must fix it," you remind it of the truth. If an action is needed, I will take it in daylight. If no action is needed, I will rest. This is wise. The Buddha taught compassion, and many people imagine compassion is only for others. But the deeper teaching is that compassion must begin inside, because the mind that is cruel to itself will never become truly free. So tonight we offer compassion to the part of you that is ashamed, to the part of you that keeps replaying because it is trying to protect you from future pain. Place a hand on your chest, lightly, and let the touch be a sign of friendliness. On the exhale, whisper inwardly, "May I be gentle. May I be gentle." This does not erase responsibility. It simply removes the whip. Now another Zen story, like a soft lamp in a room. A student asked a master, "How do I stop my mind from returning to the past?" The master said, "The past is a guest who keeps knocking. You can open the door, greet the guest, and then let him leave. Or you can drag him inside, feed him, and ask him to stay." The student asked, "How do I let him leave?" The master replied, "Do not ask him to explain himself again. Do not argue with him. Bow and return to what is in front of you. Tonight, bow to the memory. Bow to the past. Not in worship, but in acknowledgement. Yes, that happened. Yes, I am human. Yes, I learned." And then return to the breath, return to weight, return to sound, Return to the river and the forest and the moonlight, because what is in front of you now is the only place where rest can happen. As you breathe, imagine each exhale washing the inner courtroom floor clean, not erasing facts, but erasing the endless echo of accusation. Imagine the river carrying away the heavy words. Should have, must have, why did I? Imagine the Buddhist stillness reminding you that a life is not repaired by hatred. A life is repaired by presence and compassion and wise action taken at the right time. And if you feel the mind drifting again into replay, do not scold it. Noticing is success. Noticing is the bell. When you notice, whisper inwardly, replaying, and come back. Again, again, again. Not with impatience, not with force, with gentle discipline, the discipline of return. Because the fourth night is teaching you something profound. You cannot sleep while putting yourself on trial. You cannot rest while gripping yesterday with bleeding hands. So set the jar down. Let the night be the night. Let the past be the past for a few hours. If a lesson remains, it will still be there in the morning, and you will meet it with clearer eyes. For now, you're allowed to stop. You are allowed to soften. You are allowed to breathe without proving anything. And as you do, the river's voice becomes quieter in your perception. The forest becomes deeper, the moonlight becomes softer, and the mind, no longer fed by shame and replay, begins to loosen its grip, and the doorway to sleep opens not as a victory, but as a gentle permission. The fifth night comes with a strange tenderness, because by now you may have noticed something that is both comforting and unsettling. The anxious mind is not only a loud enemy, it is also a wounded protector, a part of you that believes it must stay awake so you can survive, a part of you that thinks rest is dangerous, that thinks softness invites harm, that thinks if you let go even for a moment, life will strike you. And when you see this, you may feel compassion, and you may also feel sadness, because you realize how long you have been guarded from inside, how long you have lived with an inner soldier who never sleeps. Tonight, we do not try to silence that soldier with force. Tonight, we speak to it with wisdom. Return again to the moonlit forest, to the river's quiet chant, to the soft fog, to the Buddha seated in meditation at the center of the clearing, calm and unmoving like a steady flame inside a lantern. You sit by the bank, you feel the weight of your body, you soften the jaw, the shoulders, the belly, and you let the exhale lengthen as if the breath itself is lowering a flag that has been raised all day. And now, listen, the anxious mind has many masks, but one of its most powerful masks is control. Control does not always feel like control. Sometimes it feels like planning. Sometimes it feels like preparation. Sometimes it feels like responsibility. Sometimes it feels like being smart. But control becomes suffering when it turns into a refusal to accept the truth that life is moving, changing, uncertain, and that you are not meant to carry the whole future in your hands at midnight. So tonight, the teaching is this: how to let go of control without falling into helplessness. Because there is a false choice the anxious mind loves to offer you. It says, either you control everything or everything will collapse. Either you keep thinking or you will be careless. Either you keep scanning or you will be harmed. Either you grip tightly or you will lose everything. This false choice is the mind's trap. The Buddha's path offers a third way, a middle way. You act when action is needed, and you rest when rest is needed. You prepare wisely in daylight, and you release the rest at night. So we begin by learning to recognize control in the body. Control is often a clenching you can feel. The forehead tight, the jaw hard, the chest braced, the belly armored, the hands curled, the breath shallow. Control is an inner posture that says, stay ready, stay ready, stay ready. And this posture is exhausting. It keeps the river stirred. Now, bring compassion to this clenching, not condemnation, compassion, because control is often the mind trying to protect you from fear. It is a child gripping the edge of a chair during a storm. So tonight you do something very gentle. You open the hand a little and you tell the child the storm is not in this room. Let your exhale become longer. Let it slide out slowly. And on the exhale, whisper inwardly, I release, I release, Not forever, not dramatically, just for this breath. I release. And if the mind says, release what? Release the demand to solve. Release the demand to be certain. Release the demand to be perfect. Release the demand to prevent all pain. Release the demand to control life's river. Just for this breath. Then again, now a Zen story, quiet as a leaf settling on water. A man came to a Zen teacher and said, "Master, I cannot relax. My mind keeps trying to control everything." The teacher took him to a garden where a small bird was trapped in a cage. The man felt pity and said, "Let it go." The teacher opened the cage door, and the bird did not fly out. It stayed inside, trembling. The man said, "Why does it not leave?" The teacher replied, "Because it has forgotten the feeling of open sky. The cage feels familiar. The cage feels safe." The man stood silent, and the teacher said, "Your mind is like this bird. It stays in the cage of control because it fears the open sky of uncertainty. But freedom is the open sky, and you can learn it again gently. Tonight we practice open sky. Open sky does not mean you abandon wisdom. It means you stop pretending you can control what cannot be controlled. It means you stop carrying the whole river in a cup. It means you open the cage door again and again, one breath at a time, until the nervous system trusts the air. So when thoughts come, you watch them like birds crossing the sky. You do not chase them. You do not capture them. You do not build nests for them in your chest. You let them pass. If a thought arrives saying, "What if tomorrow goes badly?" you name it future. If it arrives saying, "What if I lose something?" you name it fear. If it arrives saying, "You must plan again," you name it control. Control. And then you return to the breath and you whisper, "I release," and you soften one place in the body. Now, because the anxious mind is clever, it will try to argue. It will say, "If you release, you will become lazy." But look closely. Has your controlling mind made you truly peaceful, or has it only made you tired? Has it made you wiser, or has it made you tense? Often control is not wisdom. It is fear disguised as wisdom. The Buddha taught that wisdom includes knowing what time it is. Night is not the time for battle. Night is not the time for the mind to run simulations of every possible disaster. Night is the time to return to the body, to the breath, to the softness that invites sleep. So the wise action tonight is to rest. If you need reassurance, give your mind a simple promise, clear and firm, like setting a small stone on the bank. You can say inwardly, "In the morning, I will handle what needs handling." In the morning, not now. The mind may protest again, but repeat the promise. In the morning. The nervous system begins to relax when it hears a trustworthy plan. Not a plan to control everything, but a plan to act when action is possible. Now, another teaching, quiet and deep, about trust. Many people think trust is blind belief. But in Buddhist practice, trust is simple. It is trusting the next step. You do not have to trust the entire future. You only have to trust that you can breathe this breath. You can soften this jaw. You can rest this shoulder. You can open this hand. You can return to the bank again. So tonight, trust the small steps. Trust the exhale. Trust the heaviness of the body. Trust the ground holding you. Trust that you do not need to solve your life in the dark. And now, a second Zen story, one that speaks to the heart that cannot stop holding. A student asked, "Master, what is the secret of peace?" The master held up his fist. "This," he said. Then he opened his hand. "And this?" The student stared, confused. The master said, "Clenching is suffering. Opening is peace. Do you see? Peace is not something you find far away. It is the movement of release. So feel your hand now. Even if it is resting beside you, even if it is under a blanket, feel whether it is subtly clenched. Many people clench without knowing. Open it slightly. Let the fingers relax. Let the palm soften. Let the wrist loosen. And notice what happens in the mind. The mind learns from the hand. It begins to open too. Now bring this opening to the breath. Let the inhale come without grabbing. Let the exhale leave without pushing. Breath becomes a gentle swing, not a command. And as breath swings, the river's sound becomes more soothing, like a lullaby repeating itself. If you want a simple phrase to ride on the exhale, use this: open, open, or let go, or safe enough, because that is the truth. You may not be guaranteed a perfect life. You may not control every outcome, but you're safe enough in this moment to soften your jaw, to release your shoulders, to let the belly loosen, to allow rest to approach without being chased. And if anxiety rises again, do not call it failure. Call a wave. Waves rise. Waves fall. The ocean remains. You're learning to be the ocean, not the wave. So tonight, in this moonlit forest, with fog drifting low and the Buddha seated quietly in the clearing, practice the art of release like a gentle craft. One breath, one softening, one opening. Again, again, again. Not to win, not to prove, only to come home. And as you keep returning, the inner soldier begins to lower his weapon. Not because you forced him to, but because you finally spoke to him in the only language that truly calms a protector: kindness, steadiness, and the quiet truth that this night, in this room, you do not need to control the whole river. You only need to let the water flow and let your body rest and let sleep come the way it always comes, when a hand opens and the mind stops gripping the dark. The sixth night comes like a slow turning of the season, because by now you may have noticed that anxiety is not only about fear, not only about control, not only about replaying the past, but also about a deeper hunger the mind carries, a hunger that is easy to misunderstand, the hunger to be certain that you're doing life correctly, the hunger to feel approved, the hunger to feel safe inside other people's eyes, the hunger to be held by something outside yourself, as if your own inner ground is not enough. And when that hunger is not recognized, it disguises itself as endless thinking, endless checking, endless comparison, endless worry about what you should be, and the mind becomes a restless seeker of permission. Tonight we meet that hunger gently, because the Buddha's way does not shame the mind for wanting relief. It simply teaches the mind where true relief actually lives. Return to the moonlit forest once more. The trees stand tall and quiet, and the fog drifts low like a soft veil, and the river moves with its steady chant, not changing its rhythm to match your fear, not hurrying because you hurry, not stopping because you demand stillness. And in the clearing, the Buddha sits in meditation, calm as a deep lake, eyes closed, hands resting in peace. You sit by the bank, and you feel the weight of your body, and you soften the jaw, and you soften the shoulders, and you soften the belly, and you lengthen the exhale until it feels like the body is finally allowed to stand down from its invisible guard duty. Now, listen closely to the mind's most subtle pressure, the pressure that sounds like a whisper but can keep you awake for hours. Am I okay? Not the practical question of safety in a real situation, but the deeper question that comes from a frightened part of the heart. The question that searches everywhere for confirmation. Am I okay? Am I doing enough? Am I good enough? Do people accept me? Did I say the wrong thing? Will I be judged? Will I be left behind? Will I be overlooked? And even when none of these questions are spoken aloud, they live underneath like roots under the soil, feeding the visible branches of anxiety. The Buddha taught that suffering is born from clinging, and clinging is not only clinging to pleasure or control. Clinging is also clinging to an image of self, clinging to the need to be someone specific, clinging to the need to be seen a certain way, clinging to the hope that if you can perfect your image, you will never be hurt. But life does not promise that. Life does not protect the perfected image. Life changes. People change. Conditions shift like wind in the trees. And the more you cling to an image, the more you tremble whenever the wind touches it. So tonight, the teaching is simple and deep. How to stop searching outside for the kind of safety that can only be grown inside. This does not mean you stop caring about others. This does not mean you become cold. It means you stop making your peace dependent on something that cannot be controlled. The opinions of the world, the shifting moods of people, the endless comparisons of the mind. It means you return to your own inner ground, the place that exists before praise and blame, before approval and rejection, before success and failure. This inner ground is awareness itself, quiet and steady like the bank of the river. But the anxious mind will say, how can awareness be enough? Because the anxious mind has learned to survive by scanning outward, by adapting quickly, by reading faces, by predicting reactions, by trying to stay safe through perfect behavior. This is not a moral failure. This is conditioning. It is a pattern that was learned. And what is learned can be softened. So tonight we soften it. We begin by noticing comparison, because comparison is one of the mind's most exhausting habits, and it is also one of the most invisible. Comparison does not always arrive as I am worse. Sometimes it arrives as I must be better. Sometimes it arrives as I'm behind. Sometimes it arrives as everyone else has it figured out. Sometimes it arrives as a strange tightness when you imagine other people sleeping peacefully while you lie awake. Comparison creates an inner hierarchy, a silent ranking. And when you rank yourself, you inevitably suffer, because the mind will always find someone above and someone below. And neither place is peaceful, because above creates pride that must be defended and below creates shame that must be escaped. The Buddha's path steps out of this hierarchy entirely. It returns you to what is real, a human being breathing in the dark, trying to rest, deserving gentleness. So if comparison appears tonight, name it softly, comparing, and then return to the breath. Long exhale, easy inhale, return again. Each time you name comparing, you weaken its spell because you stop treating it as truth and start treating it as habit. Now, a Zen story, quiet as moonlight on water. A student went to a Zen master and said, "Master, I want to be at peace, but my mind keeps measuring me against others." The master led him to a pond. The pond was still, and the moon was reflected clearly on its surface. The master asked, "Do you see the moon?" The student said yes. The master asked, "Do you see its reflection?" The student said yes. The master then picked up a stone and dropped it into the pond, and ripples spread and the reflection broke into shimmering fragments. The student said, "The moon is shattered." The master smiled and said, "The moon is not shattered. Only the water is disturbed." Then he asked, "When your mind compares, what happens to your reflection?" The student became quiet because he understood comparison disturbs the mind, and then the mind believes it is broken. The teaching is gentle and clear. You are not broken. The water is disturbed, and water can settle. So tonight, let the water settle by returning to what is beneath comparison. The simple fact that you are here, breathing, alive, held by the ground. And in this moment, you do not need to win life. You only need to rest. Now, another root of anxious seeking is the need for approval. And approval could be a sweet drug because it feels like warmth, it feels like safety, it feels like being held, but the mind becomes addicted, and addiction creates fear because what you depend on can be taken away. Then the mind begins to perform, begins to monitor, begins to adjust constantly, and sleep becomes difficult because even at night the mind is still working, still trying to ensure acceptance, still trying to avoid disapproval. The Buddhist teaching is not to hate approval or reject kindness from others. It is to stop making your worth depend on it. So tonight, we practice something very quiet. We practice resting as we are without trying to earn the right to rest. This is surprisingly difficult for many people. The mind says, "I will rest when I finish everything." But everything is never finished. The mind says, "I will rest when I become calm." But calm comes when you rest. The mind says, "I will rest when I deserve it." But who decides deserving? And by what cruel measure? The Buddha's compassion is simpler. A living being needs rest. That is enough. So if you feel the old pressure to earn rest, name it earning, and then exhale slowly as if releasing a heavy coin, purse you have carried for years. You do not need to pay the night for permission to sleep. Now, another Zen story, and this one is for the heart that keeps trying to be acceptable. A monk went to a teacher and confessed, "Master, I keep trying to be a good person, but I am exhausted." The teacher asked, "What do you mean by a good person?" The monk listed many rules, many ideals, many images of perfection. The teacher listened and then asked, "And who are you when you are not trying to be good?" The monk froze because he had no answer. The teacher said, softly, stop decorating yourself for the world. Sit down and meet your own heart. The monk sat, and for the first time he felt the sadness beneath his striving, and the teacher said, this sadness is not failure. It is the place where compassion begins. And the monk finally understood. Much of his anxiety was not proof of badness. It was proof of exhaustion from endless performance. Tonight, you do not perform. Tonight, you simply exist. Bring attention to your face. Often we perform with the face, even in the dark, tightening the forehead, tightening the eyes, as if still being watched. Let the muscles around the eyes soften. Let the brow smooth. Let the tongue rest. Let the expression become neutral, peaceful, unannounced. Notice how the nervous system begins to relax when it is no longer holding an expression. Now bring attention to the heart area, the chest. Feel it rising and falling with the breath. And imagine that each exhale is a message whispered directly to the heart. You are allowed to be. You are allowed to be. Not impressive, not perfect, not approved. Simply here. If you want, you can offer a short phrase of kindness, not sentimental, just true. May I be at ease. May I be at ease. Repeat it slowly and let the words be soft like fog drifting, not like a command. May I be at ease. The anxious mind will sometimes resist kindness because it thinks kindness is weakness. But kindness is not weakness. Kindness is the end of inner war. And when inner war ends, sleep becomes possible. Now, the Buddha taught that the self is not a fixed thing you must defend constantly. The self is a process, a flowing set of conditions. Thoughts, sensations, feelings, perceptions, habits, all arising and passing like the river. When you cling to a fixed self, you suffer. When you loosen that clinging, you become freer because you stop trying to protect an image that cannot be protected. So tonight, practice being spacious. Practice being the sky rather than the cloud. Thoughts may come saying, what do they think of me? You name it, seeking, and you return to breath. Thoughts may come saying, I must do more. You name it, striving, and you return. Thoughts may come saying, I am not enough. You name it, judging, and you return with kindness. Now, here's a simple practice that can change the tone of the whole night. Gratitude without performance. Not forced gratitude, not bright gratitude, just quiet noticing of what is already supporting you. You can name 3 things gently without drama. A roof, a blanket, a moment of quiet, or a breath, or the fact that you made it through the day, or the fact that your heart is trying to learn peace. Small truths, small supports. These small recognitions soften the mind because an anxious mind scans for threat, but gratitude scans for shelter, and shelter calms the nervous system. So choose one small shelter now. Perhaps it is the warmth of your blanket. Feel it. Perhaps it is the weight of your body being held. Feel it. Perhaps it is the slow exhale leaving your lungs. Feel it. Let that shelter be enough for this moment. And now, in the moonlit forest, hear the river again. Let be your teacher. The river does not ask the trees to approve it. The river does not compare itself to other rivers. The river does not perform. It flows. It is itself. It belongs. And you too belong. Not because someone claps for you. Not because you're perfect, but because you exist, because you are part of life, because you are here under the same moon. So tonight, release the need to be measured. Release the need to be approved. Release the habit of comparing your inner life to someone else's outer appearance. The mind will try to return to these old paths, but each time it does, you will gently guide it back like guiding a child by the hand, back to breath, back to body, back to the quiet bank of awareness. Long exhale, easy inhale, soft jaw, soft shoulders, soft belly, open hands, quiet phrase, may I be at ease. And if thoughts rise again, let them rise, let them pass, let the water carry them. You are not required to solve your worth tonight. You are not required to earn your place in the world tonight. You are only required to soften, to return, to be kind, and to trust that peace grows slowly in a heart that stops fighting itself. Stay with me by the river as the fog drifts and the moonlight remains dim and gentle. And the Buddha sits quietly in the clearing, as if reminding you that you do not have to become a different person to deserve rest. You only have to stop squeezing life so tightly, stop chasing permission, and allow your own inner ground to hold you until the anxious mind, no longer fed by comparison and seeking, begins to quiet, and the night, no longer a stage, becomes what it was always meant to be, a place where you can finally let go and sleep. The seventh night comes with a quiet seriousness, not the seriousness of fear, but the seriousness of truth, because by now you may have begun to feel what the Buddha's path always reveals when you stay with it long enough. That the anxious mind is not only a mind that thinks too much, it is a mind that has forgotten how to trust, and trust is not a slogan. Trust is a bodily experience, a deep permission to relax into the present without demanding proof that the future will be kind. And because trust has been missing, the mind has been trying to replace it with effort, with control, with checking, with planning, with replaying, with seeking approval, with building stories and trying to live inside them. Effort has been your substitute for trust, your way of saying, if I can just do enough, think enough, prepare enough, then I will be safe. But the body knows the truth. Safety is not created by endless effort at midnight. Safety is felt when a nervous system finally receives a clear message. In this moment, you are allowed to soften. So tonight is the night of trust. Not blind trust, not foolish trust, but the kind of trust the Buddha's wisdom points to again and again. The trust of returning, the trust of small steps, the trust that you can be present even when life is uncertain, the trust that the river can flow without dragging you under. Return once more to the moonlit forest. The fog drifts low between the trees. The river moves in its low chant, steady, old, patient. The Buddha sits in meditation at the center of the clearing, calm like a deep lake that does not argue with wind. You come to the bank and you sit, and you do not demand a perfect mind, you do not demand immediate silence. You simply begin the way you always begin now, the way you have learned to begin, with kindness and clarity. Feel the weight of your body, soften the jaw, soften the shoulders, soften the belly, lengthen the exhale, and let the breath become the simplest thing in the world. And then you listen for the mind's secret question, the one that lives underneath many thoughts like a root under soil. Can I trust this moment? Because the anxious mind often cannot. It feels like trust is dangerous. It feels like if you trust, you'll be surprised by pain. It feels like if you relax, something will happen. It feels like you must stay alert to stay alive. And this feeling can be very old, older than you remember, perhaps formed in moments when you truly had to be alert, or in years when the world felt unpredictable, or in relationships where you could not rest fully, or in times when you learned, silently, that softness was not safe. The Buddha's path does not insult these conditions. It does not tell you to just relax. It respects the nervous system. It respects the history written in the body. And because it respects it, it offers a practice that is patient enough to heal it. You do not force trust. You build trust the way you build a bridge, one plank at a time, one breath at a time, one gentle return at a time. So tonight, you are not trying to trust the whole future. You are only trying to trust one thing, the next exhale. Trust that the exhale can be slow. Trust that your jaw can soften a fraction. Trust that your shoulders can drop a fraction. Trust that your hands can open. Trust that the ground can hold you. These are small trusts, but small trusts repeated become a new inner climate. Now, a Zen story, quiet and simple, meant to live in you like a seed. A student came to a Zen master and said, "Master, I cannot stop my mind from shaking. I want trust, but I do not know how." The master led the student to a narrow bridge over a river. The student looked down and felt fear. The master said, "Do not look for trust in your thoughts. Trust your feet." The student said, "What do you mean?" The master replied, "Take one step. Feel the plank hold you. Then take another." The student took one trembling step, and the plank held. He took another, and it held. Slowly, without speeches, his body began to believe what his mind could not believe, that the bridge could carry him. And the master said, This is how trust is born, not from promises, from experience. Tonight, your bridge is breath. Your planks are small returns. Each time you return, the plank holds. Each time you soften, the plank holds. Each time you choose not to follow a worry, the plank holds. And over time, your body learns the truth. The present moment can carry you. But the anxious mind may say, what if it can't? And this is where the Buddha's wisdom becomes even deeper. You do not need the present moment to be perfect for it to carry you. You only need to stop adding panic on top of it. Even if discomfort is here, you can breathe. Even if uncertainty is here, you can soften. Even if thoughts are here, you can watch them. This is trust. Not that life will never hurt you, but that you can meet life without drowning. Now, in Buddhist teaching, there's a powerful understanding about the nature of suffering. Much suffering is not the first arrow. The first arrow is the event, the sensation, the moment of pain or fear. The second arrow is what the mind adds, the story, the resistance, the panic, the self-attack. The Buddha teaches you how to stop shooting the second arrow. And stopping the second arrow is trust. So tonight, when a thought arises, you do not shoot it with shame. When a feeling arises, you do not shoot it with fear. When a memory arises, you do not shoot it with replay. You simply observe, name if you can, and return. This is the end of inner violence. This is the beginning of peace. Now bring attention to your heart area, the chest. Often anxiety lives there like a tight band. Do not demand that it disappear. Instead, imagine you are making space around it. Imagine your awareness widening like the sky around a cloud. The cloud is still there, but the sky is larger. Let your attention be larger than the tightness. Let the breath move through the tightness like water moving around a stone. No fighting, no forcing, just flowing. And now, because this is the final part of the series, we will speak about something that is both simple and life-changing: the art of returning without disappointment. Many people practice for a while and then become discouraged because the mind still wanders. But the Buddha's path is built on wandering. Wandering is not the enemy. The enemy is the harshness you add when you notice you wandered. The enemy is the disappointment that tightens the body again. So tonight, each time you notice wandering, treat it as a success because it means awareness returned. And when awareness returns, whisper inwardly, good. Not sarcastically, gently, good. Then return to breath. This one small good changes the nervous system. It teaches the mind that coming back is safe, not shameful. It teaches the anxious protector that it does not need to scream to be heard. It teaches your whole system that you are on your own side. Now another Zen story, like the final lantern in a long corridor. A monk asked his teacher, "Master, I keep returning to the breath, but the mind keeps leaving. Will this ever end?" The teacher asked, "When you return, do you return?" The monk said yes. The teacher smiled and said, "Then it has already ended. The leaving is not the problem. The return is the path, and the path is already here." The seeker in you, the tired part of you that wanted a dramatic solution, may feel humbled by this because it is not glamorous, but it is true. Peace is not a single thunderclap. Peace is the quiet habit of returning. So tonight, you return again and again and again with a soft jaw, with open hands, with a long exhale, with a gentle phrase if you need it. You might use safe enough, or here, or now. These words are not spells. They are signposts pointing you back to the bank. And now, let the forest become quieter in your imagination. Let the fog drift more slowly. Let the river's sound become a steady lullaby. The Buddha sits at the center of the clearing, not demanding silence, only embodying it, showing you that stillness is not a prize you win. It is a natural resting state when the mind stops gripping. If the mind brings up the future, you place it down like setting a bag on the ground. Not now. If the mind brings up the past, you set it down. Not now. If the mind tries to compare, you set it down. Not now. And you return to what you can trust, the breath, the body, the present moment, the gentle rhythm of letting go. Trust does not mean you will never feel anxious again. Trust means that when anxiety comes, You will not panic about it. You will meet it like a wave. You will let it rise. You will let it fall. You will keep breathing. You will keep softening. You will keep returning. And in that steady returning, the anxious mind begins to learn what it has forgotten, that it can rest without being destroyed, that it can let go without losing everything, that it can sleep without staying on guard. So let your body become heavier now. Let your eyelids be soft. Let the muscles in your face relax. Let your hands be open. Let your breath be slow, especially the exhale, long and warm and gentle. And if a thought passes, let it pass like a leaf on the river, carried away into the dark, while you remain on the bank, quiet and steady, safe enough to soften, kind enough to return, trusting the next breath, trusting the next moment, until the river of thoughts becomes only a distant sound, and that sound becomes a lullaby, and the lullaby becomes sleep.